So hello everyone, good morning. I'm Lorenzo Novaro from Cooperatives Europe. We are one of the hosting organizations for today. This is Cultivating Sustainability, Advancing Efficient Agri-Food Value Chains. It's an event in the CoFresh Horizon project that will be presented by our Spanish colleagues shortly. One note, this meeting is hybrid, so we have people in the room and people on Zoom, and it will be recorded. So for everyone at home, just to know that if you turn on your camera, you will be in the images. For the people in the room, there's a consent form there at the end of the first table. This is the program for today. We are going to illustrate 4 of the sustainable innovations developed in the CoFresh project. The event is part of the CoFresh project, and so we strongly invite you to follow us on all the social channels we established. And the event of today is co-hosted by 4 organizations, 3 here in Brussels and 1 Italian one. So Cooperatives Europe, Confagricoltura from Italy, Eurocoop, the European Community of the Consumer Cooperatives, and UCOFEL, representing producers of fruits and vegetables in Europe. Now I will leave the floor to Ines to introduce the project. A second to change presentation.
Okay, hello, good morning. Would like to thank you first, the 4 partners of CoFresh, for the effort of organizing this event. I have to say that it is, I could say, the first event in which we are presenting some of our results. So it's a quite interesting moment for the project. So thank you very much. Lorenzo and colleagues, Todor. I see many colleagues, Claudio from those partners. So thank you very much. Okay, so first of all, I would like to introduce myself a little bit. I am Ines Echeverria. I work in a Spanish food technology center named CNTA. And we are located north of Spain, and our aim is to contribute to the food sector competitivity. So we work very much next to the food industry and agro-industry, and this is why we came into this CoFresh project, which we are coordinating, because we really believe that we have to go through the bridge from research to implementation. And this is why we came with this project, in which we wanted to put in value that it is possible to collaborate with the whole value chain, with all the stakeholders along the value chain, and to co-create innovations and to make them reality. So this project, named Co-creating Sustainable and Competitive Fruits and Vegetables Value Chains in Europe, was approved a little bit more than 2 years ago. And what it is characteristic or special from this project is that we have 7 pilot cases, 7 agri-food value chains related all the time with fruits and vegetables supply chains, and that are spread all over Europe, and that are, let's say, deeply participating in the project, bringing their needs, bringing their knowledge, bringing their experience to try to find solutions together. So this is some figures to have an idea of what does CoFresh mean. And well, you can see that it is an innovation action with more than 7.5 million euros funded by the European Commission. So it's quite a big project. We have 10 different countries involved. As I said, 7 agri-food value chains represented by corresponding partners, 8 research centers, 7 associations and non-governmental organisms, but also specialists in business planning, IoT technology, or intellectual property rights. So it is a 42 months project. We are now facing the last year of the project. In fact, the project will be finishing in March next year. And we are working right now in 19 innovations, which is quite a big number even for us. So the objective of CoFresh is to consider the complete value chain of those pilot cases and try to redesign, including innovative solutions that should contribute to improve the economic, social, and environmental performance through the smart integration of different types of innovation. So we are playing not only with technological innovation, which by my background, that would be the first thing that you would think when you are thinking in an innovation, but not just technological, but also social, organizational, managerial, and institutional innovations. And this is something we have learned, that when we are not just considering one phase of the innovation, we are much more successful in both designing the innovation, but also implementing them. So this redesign pilot cases or value chains, will be tested. Will be tested with demonstration test in every pilot case. So, which is the methodological tools we are using in this project? On one side, this is an interventional research. That means that we are implementing the innovative solutions, the changes we have imagined, we have designed, we are implementing in the real pilot cases to test its effectiveness and impact on sustainability in the 3 pillars. A second key element of this project is co-creation. And how did we manage to do this co-creation? Of course, in the project, we have the 7 pilot cases represented by one organization, but each organization has compiled around the pilot case the stakeholders that cover the complete value chain. That means that every pilot case has involved its primary producers, its suppliers of the primary producers, the logistic people, the processing plant people, the quality lab staff, and even going until marketing, and in some cases the retail who's selling their products. That means that for every pilot case, we do not have just a partner, but the whole value chain represented. And through a methodology of combining different types of meetings, focus groups, and techniques, I will be explaining a little bit more. We have managed to involve those stakeholders along the value chain and really to collaborate in identifying, imagining, and designing which should be the innovations that they should bring into its value chain to improve them. Okay, and innovation strategies. As I mentioned, we are not just looking to technological, but also non-technological changes that should be implemented in a value chain to improve it. So what's the project situation right now? Well, as you can see, we completed in the first half of the project the mapping and assessing current situation. And we came out with many interesting deliverables from that part. I will be presenting you a little bit later. And we also completed the first part of the co-creation, and that is the definition of the innovations that we should be implementing in every pilot case. And we are right now working on the effective implementation of those innovations. We are now in the serious moment of the project, let's say, and in parallel working, as in many European projects, in assessing and maximizing the impact. As I said, we have 12 months now to the end of the project. Well, I wanted to tell you a little bit more on the pilot cases. As I told you, we have 7 in the project. So we have Le Terre di Zoe, a small agri-business south of Italy. My colleague Lucia Vanini will be presenting a little bit more on that. And I also saw Alessandro in the in the meeting. We have Floret, the well-known minimally processed salads European supplier, but from the Spanish operation unit. We have Food Valley. They are also the well-recognized international organization based in the Netherlands. We have La Chambre d'Agriculture du Pays de la Loire, represented here today by Frédéric, who will be telling us also a little bit on one of its innovations. We have EcoWalk. It is a cooperative in Poland producing organic fruits. We have also Pilsenagi. It's a small medium enterprise located in Hungary, producing oyster mushrooms. And finally, we have Coexfal, which is an association of producers of fruits and vegetables south of Spain in the Almeria area. For those who knows, one of the biggest production sites of fresh fruits and vegetables in Spain. And they are bringing with them a third party, which is Group Unica, one of the biggest cooperatives in Spain, producing fruits and vegetables and exporting them all over Europe. You have seen that together with each pilot case, we have what we call a support partner. Support partners are also very relevant in this project because they are we created this couple that work together and support one to each other to go through the project efficiently. So you have them also in this slide. Okay, I'm coming now to the interesting part. As I told you, we went through this co-creation process, and we hold this process in parallel in the 7 pilot cases. And at the end of several days of work, and in particular a last final focus group session, which started with the analysis of the current situation of the pilot case, knowing well which were the strengths, weaknesses, the SWOT analysis of each pilot case. People start to think together and came up with more than 200 potential innovations that people along each value chain thought could be helpful and could be practical and could be makeable and desirable for its value chain. The co-creation process didn't finish then. We did a sort of votations. We applied Delphi method and other statistical and collaboration methods to come up with a selection of 63 most voted innovations, 9 per pilot case. And then we came to analyzing those 9 innovations in each pilot case. We analyzed from a technological point of view, were they feasible in the frame of CoFresh, because we are not in an ideal world, we are in real world, and we have a timing, a budget, resources to be committed, and we selected 19, right? Those 19 innovations, 9 were somehow technological, so they involved either communication and information technologies or food technologies or others like this. And I have to highlight that 4 new food products will be developed also within these 9 technological solutions. We also got 9 operational, organizational tools. Today, Frédéric from La Chambre d'Agriculture will be presenting us one of those. We have one very much looking in improving the nutritional value of a product. And we also have 5 which were very, very, very much market focused. So looking really to better involve and better communicate to consumers the goodnesses and the interest of such a product. So how to better get to the market. So from now, I will be telling you a little bit our main project results, which the ones that have been already completed are available in our webpage, also in other platforms. So at the end of my presentation, you will have the connections to be able to download them. So we have developed a psycho framework. Psycho stands for Sustainable Innovation and Collaborative Opportunities Oriented. Sorry, and this is a reflective tool that permits to on top of the three typical pillars from which you classify innovations: environmental, social, or economic impact. By its impact, you also look to collaboration, how people around the value chain is collaborating. Okay, you have this information, and the deliverable on that is available in our webpage. We also make a survey on more than 100 business models based on fruits and vegetables in Europe that we consider for any or other reason sustainable. We analyze them, and we selected 20 out of those 100, and we built this business models portfolio, again, downloadable from our webpage, in which you can see examples around Europe or things that are working. Another result of the project is the co-creation methodology. We describe the methodology we have follow up, and that has been quite, I would say, successful in our case. And we have the guidelines, so others can have a look on this methodology and well, take what can be of interest from them. You have here some ideas, but I will not stop myself telling you more. You have the deliverable, and you will be able to get it, right? Just to say that it implies a series of meetings of stakeholders along the value chain, along the project, with very specific targets and very specific methodology in each meeting, which comes to this collaborative work that permits this co-creation of joint solutions or action plan to improve its value chain. Now we come to the project results, which are under development. So we are working in a certification mark. That could be a new voluntary certification scheme that could help fruit and vegetables producers, but also others, agri-food chains, to be more recognizable and more recognized. And in this particular case, we are working in particular on certification on non-desired microplastics production. Okay, so we are working on that, and that will be ready in the next months of the project. For the another result is we have collaborated with other projects in a new innovation platform, which has been renamed and rebuilt recently, and which is called the Sustainable Food Systems Innovation Platform. You have again here the QR code to get to this platform, and it is an online environmental for those which are interested in knowing more and what's new on the food value chains in Europe, and to stay to date on those innovations. So a very practical place. We have now many projects, not only CoFresh, but other projects like, I want to say names because I will miss someone, but other projects that are using this platform to as a high speaker to better disseminate and make their innovations well known by practitioners and other stakeholders along the agri-food sector. So another relevant place to visit. This platform was partially fostered and by the collaboration of 5 projects. We are working together. So CoFresh, Fairchain, and Plutos were approved in the same call. So we are so-called sister projects. And from the very beginning, we did collaborate. We did collaborate in many different aspects. And I have to say that with these 2 projects, plus 2 others, Food As and Low in Food, which are more tackling the food waste problem, we are really happy with this collaboration. We are thinking we are making more than each one of its side. So well, many activities that are being done together. And what now? What are we putting our efforts right now in making in bringing into reality these 19 selected innovations that came out from a paper exercise on a table, people thinking together, and we would like and we have to make them reality in these months. We have started to work on them last September after the selection of the innovations. First, we did a implementation plan. We were sure that we got all the resources. Every people that has to be involved was involved, etc. And then we started. We started, and they should be finished at the latest by September this year, so in 6 months. Today, we will be telling you more about 4 of them, which are in course of development, but we believed when we organized this event that it was worth to make kind of spoiler on what's being done for you to know and perhaps to open your appetite on what's coming from CoFresh. In future events, we will be disseminating more results and more completed. So this is why we will be doing today this presentation. So this is what I wanted to do as an introduction for today's event. I hope this will be a very relevant and interesting event for all of you. And with this, I would like to give the floor to Claudio Carpinetti from Confagricultura, who will be our chairman today and giving the floor to the other participants. So Claudio, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ines, for the clear exposition of the activity of the project. In order to underline the keyword of the project, innovation, co-creation, sustainability, and in order to show the state of the art of the project and then pilot cases. Then now we introduce the Frédéric Floor of Chamber d'Agriculture Pays de Loire. On the topics exploring a new governance tool to develop the use of sustainable local pig feed.
Hello everyone. I'm Frédéric from the Chambre d'Agriculture des Pays de la Loire in west of France. And we are working in that pilot case with Le Port de la Sarthe. And we call it LPS for today to be more simple, which is a small PGI pork production from Western France. Okay. There's a problem. Okay. Sorry. So we are working with these all the actors of the sectors. It seems that the remote doesn't work. Okay. We are working on a governance tool, which takes the form of software. So today, technically, I have just 2 things to talk about: this architecture software and how we get there. Before starting with this software, I'd like to give you some details about the context. So LPS is a very small pork production with a label rouge, red label, and a PGI since 1997. It represents 30 farmers, and they work mostly with butchers, delicatessen producers on the local area near Angers and Nantes. And we can say it's a niche production, but it represents 20% of the PGI and red label production in France. So it's significant. Also, I can give you some economic context. You can see here that the production settled around 1,600 tons per year since 2012. The turnover is around 6 and 7 million euros. And when you look to the right, The red curves show you that they really had to fight to recover on the valuation of their products. So let's get back to the governance tool. At first, we were more with the idea to work on the GIS technology, which is interesting because you can go through directories, data, and everything is located. But because of the short amount of time left to CoFresh, we decided to go for a demonstrator on a no-code technology, which is more simple and we'll be able to test and to make some experiments very soon on that. So you can see on this architecture that in the center, we will work with a Airtable database. And the code is, when it's blue, the data will be entered in the database by one of the actors. And when it's green, it enables the actors to get the information. So let's zoom in this application. So you can see that all the actors are represented from the cattle feed manufacturer. I will take it back. The breeders, the slaughterhouse, the pro client, in which, as you see that 80% of the production goes to the butchers and delicatessen producers. And on the top, you can see LPS, which is what we call in French ODG, Organisation de Défense et de Gestion. It's an organization linked with INAO, which represents the name of the PGI, promote the PGI, also take also in charge the controls, the quality controls and everything. So this software is designed for everyone in the chain value. So when we zoom in the interface from cattle feed manufacturer and breeders, we can see that we try to promote and encourage the use of local vegetable proteins in the breeding of porks. So we want the cattle feed manufacturer to be clear on the kind of product they can provide, but also allow the breeders to get an eye on the possibilities they can obtain from the cattle feed manufacturer. We want also to encourage common order. So we want the breeders to see what are the conditions to get better prices, and also to be able to organize in between them to make common order. Because as we are encouraging these people to go for local vegetable proteins, it will cost a bit more. So we have to keep in mind that we have to help them to make that realistic. So this aspect of this software is very important. But we also want to encourage the development of the self-production, including, for example, fava beans. And we need producers to have some good view on the possibilities to produce more by themselves. So we add some possibilities to declare available surfaces for each producer, but can lead the whole group of producers to know what is possible to produce every year, and try to pilot that aspect in maybe trying to get some more ambitious goal to the future. So it's a starting point, let's say. Between the breeders and the slaughterhouse, we have some features like, of course, enter the batches ready to go to the slaughterhouse, probably with some info that are very important for the slaughterhouse, like the average weight of the pork, which help to see what is going to happen, and also to have a perspective on if the slaughterhouse will be able to answer the client demand. So the slaughterhouse also want to get more details on the the carcass they are registering every day, and we add a lot of more infos. Actually, they're using only the TMP, but discussing with the pro client like butchers, we conclude that we need a bit more infos, because when the client will order the carcass, we want the carcass match perfectly the needs to the client. It's also a way to permit and help producers to get a better price on their product. So between the slaughterhouse and the pro client interface, you can see that the client can put an order using the same specific key data, which for us, it's a way to improve the pro client service. Then they can also make a claim. Actually, there is no really way to treat the client claim. It's most of the time by phone, but we want all the sector to be able to manage that to improve. So the slaughterhouse can view and also answer the complaints. And in the end, the ODG, the defense organization LPS, will get a lot of data, including what's in production, and select some batches for the slaughterhouse, but also it can manage all the complaints and see evaluate the satisfaction of the client. They also can see what is going on the consumption of livestock feed, and especially with the percentage of local vegetable proteins used by the producers, and pilot this. We want them to be able to see and put some goals for the future and increase that percentage. And also LPS can have and start to have a view on what is possible to do on self-production of local vegetarian proteins. At the end, I won't take long into the consumer interface. We want also LPS to be able to promote its commitment for using more vegetable proteins. So we design an interface where the consumer can follow the progress of the sectors into that goal. So we are arrived at the part where how we get to that architecture. It's technically just a first draft. I want to say that we're just getting started. We get through a lot of meetings, try to assess the needs, try to see what the actors were able to accept to share, because it's not always easy to share some data. And also we get to some technical visits, especially to the slaughterhouse with all the actors, butchers, producers, LPS organization. And that's the results of all the needs and all these meetings. And to conclude, what I can say, we don't know tomorrow what will be this software. We don't know if we'll be able to put everyone ready to put every data we need to make it work. But one thing's for sure, they're working all together, and that's already a good result. And we hope that in the future, after the co-fresh product, they will be able to continue on that way, because technically for us, that is really important in the creation of value in the sectors, that people worked all together, and that's what we are doing right now. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Frederic.
If I may, Frederic, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know you're a PGI, you're protected geographical indication, the Porc de la Sarthe, and I know well it's quite a small. No, I mean it involves 2 or 3 departments in France.
Yes.
And how many breeders you have, farmers?
Altogether, it's 30 breeders. And it's also the cattle feed manufacturers. There are just two, and just one slaughterhouse, because in the PGI, it defines an area, and there's just one slaughterhouse.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is, in such a small group, how do you feel people is ready to integrate all this data in this tool? What's this been the reaction now that you are working in the tool? How do they feel?
The best part is yet to come, because it was a good thing to get everyone all around the table to discuss that. But now we are going to really make this a reality, and that's very different, because we don't forget that we are here in a very oral culture. These people are working a lot with phones and everything, and we are going to a step further, something more register and data, putting on forms and everything. And we know that it won't be an easy part, but it's part of the project.
Yeah. And I suppose the key thing will be if they see a benefit, if they see that the effort on feeding this tool comes back to them in form of a better organization, better integration, or they see benefits in what they are doing, that will be the key, I suppose. For them to motivate, to contribute.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
That's a challenge. And the way we design the architecture of the software is that we want that everyone has an interest in using the tool. It's not really easy. So we are constantly into a negotiation between what they want to be very useful just for them and what we want to put them through the future shift they have to take into more sustainability. So it's kind of permanent negotiation between their own immediate interest and what we want them to look further to the future. So it's part of the job, and it's kind of exhilarating.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much, Frédéric. Todor, you have also a question?
Thanks very much. So, Todor from EuroCoop. Two quick questions. This is very inspiring what we heard. One is you mentioned about 30 breeders, 2 cattle manufacturers, 1 slaughterhouse. How many consumer representatives are on board at the moment, or are the actors who are already participating also imagining it as a consumer? Yeah, that's the first question.
It's not easy because technically, the DNA of this PGI is to work with butchers and craftsmen, and it's very local. And what I can answer to you, it's they're already working with probably 40% of the butchers and delicatessen producer in the area. But it's difficult to say what kind of client they are contacting, final clients, because there's a cliche about what are the final consumer of these craftsmen and butchers and delicatessen producers. But talking with some of them, because we are working on a new product with them, we discover that it changed a lot. And since the COVID, young people are going more to this kind of shop, and they are liking to sometimes treat themselves with a very nice product. So I think they are starting to feel that they have to work for everyone, including young people, including people that maybe are not worthy or not rich, let's say, but the client change and they want to address that. And it's important because the new client will need a more sustainable approach.
Thanks. And my second question is you identified a challenge in the multi-stakeholder dialogue that you have going on, the challenge of looking into the future and addressing what we need to achieve in the future. So my question is, while you're developing this technological innovation, I imagine the future holds that the idea is to implement this digital solution, that it's taken up by more and more butchers and slaughterhouses, that the scope expands. Then my question is, when you develop the solution, what about the property rights or the ownership, and how would you address, I guess, very local and SMEs to be trained to use them, to use this technology, the user friendliness of this technology, the uptake for them to see a value? So I guess it's too many questions in one. The data rights, and would they have to pay for the solution to use it? And how do you envisage, attracting more actors to the final product once it's done?
That's interesting because I'm very into the creative scheme context, and I think this software, for me, we are not working only for LPS, and we are the Chamber of Agriculture. We are working for all the breeders or the producers, or so the idea is we are working concretely with people, but the scope of this software is probably to be used by other quality scheme, because it's a permanent problems. They don't talk enough, they don't share enough data, they don't work enough all together. So what we are seeing and addressing here could be transposed to any, I think, quality scheme. Mm-hmm. So we don't know exactly how we are going to manage the property, but in our mind, it's meant to be used by more in most of the quality scheme project.
I have a question. Now, at the first, I want to thank Frederick for very interesting pilot base of innovative software to optimize the sustainability of the animal local feed chain. And I want to know if you evaluate the economic follow-up on the farm, on the territory with the adoption of this application.
Probably the hardest part, because as I said, they're not very used to work like that. So and also in the demonstrator, we try to include solution that can facilitate the way a producer will enter the data, because it's very crucial that it will be easy to use. But for the demonstrator, probably it will be very hard to get all the data. But the idea is also, this thing is just the first brick. They will have to work. We are working on the no-code technology, which means that we are using like bricks, small bricks of already code data. But in the future, if you want to adapt and make this thing more easy to use, they probably have to code. But it's the first step. It can be used, but it can be developed in the future.
And then I don't know if I could have other question. Yes, of course.
We have a question in the chat from Daniel Axe from Bioeconomy Cluster. He asked if you see the LPS system, when completed, to be replicable in other regions and countries, for example, Slovakia, and what would need to be done to make it happen?
Yes, for sure. We hope that this software can be adapted to different countries. And the way it's developed, as I said, with no-code technology, will probably make some changes and some adaptation to new countries really easy, in fact. And it's very cost effective, because it doesn't take too long to develop such a software with a no-code technology. It's more simple than the GIS we first have in mind. But and also it's a good start, because as I said, you can develop it and add some code and change. It's something very let's say flexible.
So I want to know if the online participants have any other question. Okay, I will thank Frederick for the clear exposition, and now introduce, of course, not introduce,
Again.
I give
again.
I give a floor to Ines for the developing quality protein from fava bean temp, please.
Okay, so me again. That will be the second time and the last time I'm intervening today. So you will not get bored of me. Okay, so today in this second presentation, Lorenzo, if you can put the presentation on it, I am representing my colleagues at CNTA that work in fermentation and new product development. As I told you, CNTA, we're a technological center, and we have some technical departments working in well, many technologies around the food processing, and in particular in new food products development and fermentation. And as you may know, is one of the well, fermentation is very well known and quite an old technology used even without knowing that it was used in all times to preserve, to improve the shelf life of the products, but also to improve its nutritional value and to enrich in flavors, texture, and other sensorial properties. So it's quite many properties in one tool, right? That fermentation can bring to food. So I'm going to present you the first results and how we are facing one of this new products development we are doing in the frame of CoFresh, and which is of this. If you remember when I was telling you a little bit more on these 19 innovations, this is one of the 9 technological innovations, and out of these 9, one of these 4 new products which are being developed in the frame of CoFresh. So in this case, this is being done. This is the innovation. This is to develop a new food product with fava beans. Fava beans which are locally produced in the Netherlands, and in this case we are focusing on developing a tempeh with fava beans, and we are not just working on the product development, but also in the marketing image, in the branding of this new product, because when talking with our value chain stakeholders, well, these two contents comes together: the new product and its brand image. So the rationale behind is the diversification of the use of Dutch fava beans and its contribution to the protein intake of the population, and the technology is fermentation. So we are working here with Food Valley. Food Valley, it's our pilot case in the Netherlands. You may know them. It is an independent platform for innovation and transition on the global food system. They are located in Wageningen, and they focus on 3 big innovation fields in the protein shift, circular agri-food, and food and health. In this particular case, in CoFresh, when they came on board on this project, they came as Food Valley, but on behalf of this protein shift pillar they have at Food Valley, right? So Food Valley has more than 100 partners within the plant-based protein field. So it is quite representative, of course, at Dutch level, but also European level, and covering the food value chain from post-harvest to the end product producers. So really representing the complete fava bean value chain. So the description, when we started the project on this Food Valley pilot case, it was to go from fava beans to meat analogs, because fava beans have the potential to become a winning green protein in the European market, which is so needed of local produced proteins. Okay, I have to tell you that in this pilot case, we are developing 3 different new products based on fava beans. And today I am presenting one, which is CNTA, who's doing the development together with Food Valley. and there are two other which are also in course of development. Okay, so and the Wageningen University are their super partners. Okay, so why tempeh? Why we did select this type of products to make a development based on fava beans? Okay, tempeh it's a traditional Indonesian product, which originally is made out of soybeans fermented with a fungus, and it has been eaten in Indonesia. Well, I think there are records even from uh, uh, from uh, from the 19th century, eating this tempeh. Perhaps it is not registered, but it comes from far behind. But this product, perhaps 25 years ago, was not known at all in Europe. But in the last 10, 15 years, it's becoming more popular. I wouldn't say everyone eats tempeh in Europe, but people knows, and mainly people with a special concern in complete its protein intake, because they are vegans, vegetarians, or flexitarians, or wherever. It is one alternative, which is being starting to be used more and more in Europe, right? So our original tempeh, as I said, is made of with soybeans, and it is a great replacement for animal protein because of its great nutritional value, of course, coming from two sides, coming from the fact that soy protein it's very complete one, and that fermentation is helping to its digestibility and making them more easy to eat, right? And moreover, tempeh is low in fat, high in fiber, provides significant amounts of minerals and some vitamins and other nutrients. So it's really quite a complete product, right? Which is, let's say, for European consumers, quite new, but not for other countries. Okay, so why Dutch fava beans? Well, when talking with our colleagues from Food Valley and its working group, what I said it's not just our partners in Food Valley, but we have, as I said, many people from the supply chain of fava beans involved in its group. We knew that legumes crops. Let's say something like 25 years ago, almost disappear from the Dutch fields. It was not economic. It was easier to import them, and it comes now to the. We got this data from the Dutch Agriculture Ministry. I think it was a data from 20 or 21, but I suppose it has changed.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are back. Sorry for this interruption. This is well, what happens when you are doing things in direct form. So, as I was commented, I was explaining why we put together these fava beans from the Netherlands with fermentation technology to try to produce a fermented fava beans product that could contribute to to be part of the diet of European consumers. So I was explaining that fava beans, as other legume crops, almost disappear. Something like 25 years ago in the Netherlands, as they did, at least to decreased its production in other European countries. And this came out with a situation of a high dependency on legume crops from imports in this case in European countries. So Dutch government, the same that other governments are doing, are trying to foster the cultivation of legume crops locally, since this can help to improve the food security supply in European countries, right? So this is the situation now. And when we come to how to make these legumes eatable by consumers, we come to fermentation technology, which is a fermentation very well known and very much used historically as a food processing technology for many reasons. And in this case, we took the example of tempeh. As I mentioned at the beginning, tempeh is a fermented traditional Indonesian product which uses a fungus starter from the family of Rhizopus. This is the typical Rhizopus oligosporus and Rhizopus oryzae that are most typically used in production of tempeh, and you get many benefits. On one side, the growth of this fungus give a structure to the product. You have separate grains of fava beans, and this fungus produces a mycelia that gives a structure, cohesiveness, and makes the product an edible cake, right? That can be cutted, fried, or processed. And another benefits is that this fungus, they compete with other non-desirable microorganisms that may spoil food product, and somehow they protect the product, right? It plays a double role that makes, well, as typically history tells us that tradition is very clever, and process that have been successful for many years. When we know the mechanisms, how they act, well, you see that it was right, tradition was right, and this product, it's quite a clever product. Okay, so in the value chain of Food Valley, they got this company, Her's Best, sorry for the pronunciation, which produces fava bean flours and crushed fava beans out from raw fava beans. And these were the ingredients we had to play with to produce this tempeh or fava beans tempeh, a new product, right? So as you can see in the nutritional facts we have on the right of the screen, it's quite a interesting ingredient to work with. As you can see, is a third are carbohydrates, but as you can see, the ratio of fiber is really high in fava beans, and together with protein content, which is also this 27.8. I suppose the analytics we did at CNTA, but it represents very well, which is the average content of proteins. So it's quite interesting, quite an interesting low in fat legume, right? So when we go to the process development, of course, we started developing the process in the kitchen, right? Which is as many new products start is development stage, working in a kitchen level. So the process takes around 3 days because it's a fermentative process. So first you have to you have your fava beans, you soak in cold water. In that part, in fact, you are having the first fermentation of the product with the natural microorganisms naturally occurring in the surface of fava beans. You have a very, let's say, not that significant, but still there, first fermentation. So after one overnight soaking in cold water, you remove the water, you clean and boil to eliminate other microorganisms, and you drain the excess of water and remove the husk, right, of the fava beans. Then you lower the pH, in this case with vinegar, and inoculate the starter, the fungus. At CNTA, we tested 5 different strains of Rhizopus to produce the tempeh, right? So we follow up the process with the different with the different starters, right, of rhizopus. And well, on the right part of the screen, you have a Petri plate with the fungus as cultivated in the lab for you to have a look on this white fungus. Okay, so the inoculation again is a very simple process, and this is how it is made traditionally. So after 2 days fermented in a not that high temperature, around 30 degrees centigrade, you get this mycelia created. It's a very quick fungus growth you have with this rhizopus, right? And well, typically it is done in closed packs in such a way that you give the form to the material you're producing. So we really reproduced what can be done, let's say at home, but of course with some capabilities. Okay, so and then, well, you get the tempeh. This is the tempeh as it is. Can be sell out like this, or can be sell out cooked, right? So here you have the prototypes. We get, and then we started to work on the prototypes. So we started first to do a sensorial analysis to say how they look like, and we control different attributes with expert panels, right? To try to give marks on those attributes and to do a first selection based on odor, hardness, inner color, outer color, bald spots, or mycelium coverage, which should be complete in that period of time, right? So, well, I will not come into detail, but we discarded some. We got some selected, and we went on going on the process, on the new product process development, right? Another aspect we wanted to check was the protein content. The protein content, and we started by the ingredients. So we, as I said, I presented initially. We calculated the protein content in the fava beans. This is very relevant to say, and I forgot at the beginning that this is one of the outcomes from the pilot case working group, is that they wanted to not to use process or that much processed ingredients. They wanted really to use as raw as possible ingredients. So that means not to use concentrate or isolates of proteins, but trying to use really the beans themselves, or just crushed or just milled, but not having a more intensive treated ingredients. Of course, this technologically it's a little bit more than a challenge than when you use nice prepared, odorless, perfectly processed isolates or concentrates, but it's much more sustainable. Right? You are investing less resources and you are getting the most from nature, trying to reduce processing, right? Okay. So apart from controlling the amounts of proteins, we also control what we call the aminogram or amino acid profile. And of course, it's not easy to fight against soya, because soya has, this is not by chance that this is such let's say the winner in or the top being used in food and feed, because it has an incredible amino acid profile. When we compare the amino acids content per 100 grams, you can see that soy wins in every amino acid, right? So this is the situation. I mean, it is like this. And we went a little bit further on that, and we went to the amino acid score. For those who doesn't know, it's a score that FAO, the FAO, is calculating to rate the quality of the protein of an ingredient, right? So they are comparing the amino acid requirement I think it's for children at a moment of its grow up, which are the amino acid requirements they may have to properly develop, right? And they compare that with the current amino acid content of an ingredient, right? And fava beans has 3 cases in which they are a little bit under the amino acid requirement proposed by the FAO, right? Well, in this case, as I told you, we are comparing each an ingredient with another. Of course, after that, you have the ingredient into a food and you have the food into a diet, right? So this is the contribution you may have from them. So in this case, fava beans has a limiting amino acid are the sulfur amino acids, methionine and cysteine, while leucine and valine are slightly under 1. That could be the let's say the rate you are comparing with the reference amino acid requirements, right? And then we go a little bit farther and not just looking to the amino acid score, but also looking to digestibility. You all know that when you eat food, you have to digest, and it has to get to the blood to be absorbed by the body, right? And this is what we call digestibility. And you may have a very nice food, but with low digestibility doesn't mean it doesn't get to our cells, so it is not being used. Okay, so we compare digestibility. We did in vitro test, right? We simulated in 3 reactors. We are simulating mouth, stomach, and guts, and you get an in vitro value that gives you a clue on how you are, right? It is not like doing in vivo digestibility, which takes much more time, but it gives you a clue. It gives you an idea. And we found that protein from fava beans was more digestible than soybean, significantly, right? We did this because, again, FAO has another score to compare protein, a score which combines amino acid profile plus digestibility, right? Because we know that one without the other doesn't give you all the information, right? So we come now to, and we calculate this in vitro, right? That's in vitro, and this is called protein digestibility corrected amino acid score. So that means that you have the amino acid score for a protein, and you correct these amino acids which are there with its digestibility rate, right? Okay, so this is a score which was promoted in the FAO. They promote is the in vivo calculation, right? But this would be the equivalent, and it can be quickly done, right? So that's why we're using this for this research, to have data very quickly. And this correct a little bit the fava bean, let's say quality protein, but not sufficiently. Still, soybean being a little bit less digestible because it has such a great amino acid profile. Still, the corrected score, it's a little bit worse than the soy one, right? So fava beans show lower PDCAS, so the protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, than soy, right? And mainly due to the content of sulfur amino acids, right? Because this score really looks for what's missing. And once you have 1 or 2 essential amino acids missing, it dramatically affects to the score of the whole protein, right? Okay. But as I said, the in vitro protein digestibility was better in the case of fava beans, right? Okay, so even with this, fava bean is still a very interesting ingredient to to include protein and vegetable protein in our diet, right? It will not be as complete as soy, but it will clearly contribute to a protein diet. Okay, so we are there. We started this work just 2 months ago. We are at the very beginning of the development. As I said, I remind you the time frame we are following in CoFresh. We started this implementation test, some ones in December, some others in January, but the 7 pilot cases in January were already working in their implementations and should be finished before September, right? So we are really in the middle of the development, or in the middle, at the beginning, I would say. So we will go on this formulation and process development. We just started at kitchen level and having some information to guide our process development. So we will now do the digestibility test after fermentation. All this data I told you about amino acid score was done on the raw material. And now we will be repeating this in the fermented product because, it is, we expect that digestibility will improve. And also PD-Cas will be improved by fermentation. Well, the same that it does fermentation in current soy tempeh, right? But it will also do in fava beans tempeh. We will keep on working on production process optimization. So trying to make it more simple, quicker if possible, and more efficient, right? And we will also work in how we should be packing this product, right? Which type of material. We will be conducting their shelf life studies to validate the shelf life of this product. So the best before date, we should print on it. The nutritional and sensorial profile we are reaching, and we will make a techno-economic assessment. How much does it cost? How is it feasible? In which industrial process it could be produced, etc. Right? And in parallel, we have already starting to work on the brand and product image. So for this, we are counting with the collaboration of, I could say, European class branding consultancy companies. I'm sorry I didn't put the name of this company in this slide. I forgot. In this case, we are working with Lantern. It's a very well-known, they're Spanish, but they work, also at European and in the States mainly. And they are well-known also for their plant-based, let's say, branding and marketing developments, right? So they are working on how this tempeh should be presented, which could be its value proposition, which could be the way that their properties should be highlighted in the packaging, etc., right? They are working in the, let's say, in the marketing part of the product. And we have prepared these potential presentations, how this product could be eaten. So my colleagues, that's the kitchen of CNTA you are seeing behind in the picture. So here you have some tempeh fried in olive oil in a salad form. So could be eaten cold with lettuce, sprouts, and soy sauce. And another presentation form could be this time in a hot form. So tempeh fried again in olive oil. I'm sorry, we're Spanish. We always fried in olive oil. And little oil, but olive oil with rice and vegetables and soy sauce. So we really believe that tempeh can be an excellent way to incorporate the nutritional benefits of fava beans in our diet. And protein, of course, is our, let's say, main driver, but we also have fiber, we have minerals, we have also vitamins, and we have other bioactive compounds that can be created by the fact of this fermentation. I didn't mention, but fermentation also is conducting a proteolytic activity. So this proteolytic activity, of course, it makes protein more digestible, but also generates peptides that may have a benefit also on the nutritional value and benefits for health also, right? So here is my presentation. I'm sorry they were this intermediate, not desired in the middle, But so you have any question, please? We'll be happy to answer.
Ines, no, I appreciate the intervention because the technology is very impressive for the quality of products, of course, for the adoption of the traditional technology in other countries, of course. And I would like to add other benefit of this practice because the fava bean grow in the marginal soil also, and soybean no, of course, and then soybean consume a big quantity of water, and fava, of course, less. Then it's important to close the circle of sustainability. It's very good pilot case.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Yeah. This is why we have to consider, as you said, the whole life cycle.
Yes.
Not just a part. So this is the ensemble who makes the difference, not the parts. Thank you very much, Claudio. Todor? Yeah.
Todor.
Thanks very much. No? You have to turn it off. Yep, thanks very much. Again, a very inspiring case study, and I have a lot of questions, but I want to keep them down to one or two. Put simply, what was the motivation to go and research how to do tempeh from fava beans? Was it the nutritional aspect? Was it the overall sustainability aspect? And more precisely, I think this is what I would like to emphasize. Have you considered the ecological environmental aspect of the supply chain of producing tempeh with fava beans and not soybeans? Because if the end consumer has to ask a question, the question would be, why are you changing something? Why are you making tempeh not from soybeans but from fava? There must be a justification, and it's probably more than one reason. So if you can rank those, what are the reasons that this would make sense? And again, highlighting if there is an added value from a sustainable food system perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Todor. Okay, so well, what I can tell you is that these ideas came out from, as I said, this work group that put together around a table growers of fava beans from the Netherlands, processors of fava beans making this flour, making this crushed fava beans, and of course others working on, for example, meat analogs made with other materials, etc. Right, and this was managed by Food Valley colleagues. Leo, Jeron, well, okay. So, and with the help of Wageningen University, right? So, when I got, I was not there, right? I was not there at that working group, but what I get from Leo, who's our main contact in Food Valley at that time, he told me that there was a firm conviction from all people around that environmental sustainability should be the first reasons, together with food supply assurance, right? The two main things, and that together with this, not just because it was locally produced, that was in the origin, but also really to look for low processed food. So I have to tell you that in this sense, fermentation is great because really it's a low demanding technology in terms of energy, in terms of because you are not using high temperatures, you are not using let's say other chemicals, you are not using compared with other processing foods, it's less processed, right? And this is one of the let's say of the must that we got when thinking on the product, is that even ingredients should be also low processed, because everyone has in mind these very nice meat analogs that really looks like meat. And sometimes they are very well done, but some others, they have a very long list of ingredients, etc. So again, that was another demand, low list of ingredients. So they were really looking for this sustainability in different ways, but mainly environmental were behind. And for the other two products, we are developing in that case, it is not CNTA. There are other colleagues from the Netherlands which are working in those two other products development. They have the same philosophy, really trying to get the best with the least processing, right? And in this case, fermentation is the technology we propose at CNTA, and really thought it was nice, and we are trying to make this reality now.
And a less serious question is, would we be getting a tasting of the final product in September?
You will.
Oh, fantastic.
You will. And in this case, since we are conducting our annual meeting in next to our premises, you will be there, and we will be testing this for lunch, break, or whatever. But we will be trying that most of the things that can be tested will be. So thank you very much.
Any other question?
Nothing from the chat.
Okay. And I'll inform you that the coffee break is now ready. And then we start again at 12:30 with other intervention. And then we proceed to the coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, now start the second session with the speech using biotechnology to turn leftover clementine juice partly into usable food ingredients, from Lucia Vannini, Università di Bologna.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon to everyone. As it was said, I'm going to present how we have faced technological innovation, which is currently being developed by one of the partners of the CoFresh project, that is the Terre di Zoe, in collaboration with the CNTA and the University of Bologna. Briefly, the Terre di Zoe is a farm located in the south of Italy, in the Calabria region. It is basically a family business since a generation. Its origin is maybe earlier than 1983. And the brand, the Terre di Zoe, in fact, was created in 2012. Since the beginning, the farm dedicated its activities to the cultivation of olives and then also citrus fruit, particularly different varieties of oranges, clementine, and lemon. And then also pomegranate, kiwi fruit, and avocado were also included, so a part of their business, of their activity. A relevant point is that since in 2004 they got the organic certification. Later they got also several awards. And another important point for this innovation and for the project is that they do not only produce fresh fruit, but they produce by themselves processed fruit products. So basically the product include compote, marmalade, jam, and juices. And so both the fresh fruit but also the processed one are from organic production. And the latter also are characterized by the fact that no chemicals, including pectin, is added to the recipe, and also no sugar is added. So based on these key features for the company, within the CoFresh project, they represent the pilot case of organic, fresh, and processed fruits. In particular, they focus the activity on the clementine juice. In fact, almost half of the land is used for the clementine cultivation, which correspond roughly to 30 tons per year. And about 10% of the clementine produced are used for the production of the juice. We all know that processing of fruit and vegetable, and so also clementine, unfortunately results in huge amount of residues, byproducts, which are basically waste. Just to give some figure, only 30-35% of the raw material result in the juice, while up to 60-65% it's a waste. So this is basically made of the residues of the pulp, the seeds, and the peel. So within the company, but this is an overall global problem, a huge amount of wastes are yearly produced. The main uses of such waste are traditionally feeding animals, production of energy, in case of they are used as feedstock for anaerobic digestion to produce biogas, and in case it is upgraded biomethane or energy, or as in the case of the teretizoe for agronomic use. We all know, also based on a wide literature, that such residues, on the other hand, are still rich in valuable compounds and organic matter. So yes, the main component is water, but you can see this rough composition is for not for clementine, but which obviously the composition change a bit according to the fruit variety, but it can give an idea of the fact that such residue and such waste are rich in several components. So there is a quite good content of fiber and also carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, which include both mono and disaccharides, so basic sugar, fermentable sugar, glucose, fructose, and sucrose. But also more complex carbohydrates. The main components are obviously cellulose, lignin, hemicellulose, and also the pectin. And also among the component of this waste, there are some acids, organic acids. Some of one are really relevant for different sectors, including the food one, such as the ascorbic, the ascorbic or the citric ones. Another really valuable components are represented by the class of the essential oils. So basically sesquiterpenes, monoterpenes, and the most relevant one is the limonene. So overall, this is just to give you an idea of the fact that such leftover are still rich or several and different compounds and or classes of compounds. Most of them have functionality or bioactivity. It is known that they may have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, or antimicrobial activity. Also, if you think of the fiber, these are relevant for the food industry as an ingredient. Or some other may have also relevance from a technological point of view, because pectins, according to the condition, can have a gelling or thickening activity. So really a rich and wide group of components, which in most cases are somehow wasted or not properly valorized. One of the strategies that is already currently exploited at industrial level is the recovery of some of these components. So this is done for the essential oil, the pectin, and the dietary fibers. a problem could be, especially for small medium enterprises such as Lettere Desoy, is that the extraction may be really expensive, and not feasible in comparison with the amount of waste yearly produced or seasonally produced. So starting from this point, I'm going to present the rationale of the design for the innovation that in collaboration with the CNTA and the Unibo, Lettere Desoy is as thought is currently developing. So one of the starting point is a previous experience that the Unibo we had with the company producing ready-to-eat fruit, which produced also a huge amount of citrus residues. So our research was based on the fact that we decided to use the whole residues without any pre-treatment, and to use it as a whole as a food ingredient. So once the leftover, the citrus leftover was stabilized, mainly by removing water in order to preserve it over time, it was formulated with other ingredients and subjected to a mild technology, that is high pressure homogenization. Such a technology is widely used for different purposes, and also in the food sector, has several effects in terms of microbial inactivation, homogenization, obviously, but also may have a strong effect on the microstructure of the food system that is exposed, subjected to high pressure homogenization. Just to give you an idea, in relation to the processing condition, that means basically the pressure that is applied, a fluid following the high pressure homogenization treatment may become viscous, more or less viscous, so the texture strongly change. Based on this, so modulating the processing condition of the high pressure homogenization in combination with the formulation, which included the citrus byproduct as a main ingredient, we produced in a previous project different products which were used as fillers for a bakery product, or directly as ready-to-eat creamy dessert or beverages. We also, it is reported, it is in literature what we proved, that such ingredient derived from the citrus byproduct and also the product that we obtained may have a positive impact on the fecal microbiota. We tested this in vitro, not in vivo. But we proved that also the product that we obtain, I mean the creamy, the beverage, and the filler for the bakery products based on the citrus byproduct, stimulated the growth of the intestinal microbiota and the production of microbial metabolites from the intestinal microbiota, which are known to have a positive effect on humans. So starting from this, we, together with the Lettere Desoy, we decided to design the innovation by focusing on fermentation. As Ines already explained before, we are microbiologists, so we focus on fermentation, not only because we are food microbiologists, but also because it is well known that it is considered a sustainable technology. It does not require excessive or strong conditions such as temperature or low or limited use of chemicals. So the innovation designed with the CNTA and Lettere Desoy basically has as a first step, the design and setup of a biotechnological process, which is based not on fungus, but on yeasts and also in combination with lactic acid bacteria. And this biotechnological process is also assisted with the mild technology. The aim of this biotechnological process is to have an ingredient based, starting from the clementine byproducts, an ingredient with some functionality. For this, in fact, we have some previous experience in which orange residues fermented by yeast or lactic acid bacteria following the fermentation showed some, let's say, interesting properties or characteristics from a functional or technological point of view. Just quickly, despite the composition of the orange byproduct, which contain some compounds that have antimicrobial activity, such as phenolics, essential oil, the strains of yeast and also lactic acid bacteria that we used for the fermentation were able to grow. In particular, also in relation to the yeast, we observed that the fermented ingredient with the yeast strain that we selected had a profile in volatile compounds that positively impacted on the aroma of the fermented ingredient. So following the fermentation, the aroma was changed, but positively changed. As far as the lactic acid bacteria that we used, it seems that they did not grow because their viability seems to be stable. That could be from one side positive. So from a preliminary screening, it seems that they were not able to actively grow. But there is a positive result that we attained if we consider the antioxidant activity of the fermented residue fermented with the yeast and lactic acid, also with the lactic acid bacteria. We observed an improvement in the antioxidant bacteria following the fermentation. So these are the how to say, previous experience that are exploited for the innovation developed with Le Terre des Eaux. Because once we will have obtained the ingredient, we will characterize it in collaboration with the CNTA and accord based on the functionality that it will show. It will be used as a functional ingredient of an innovative product produced by Le Terre des Eaux, or even another possibility that can be exploited and put in practice to be used as a functional ingredient of a product, a beverage already existing, which will be enriched with some functionality carried by this functional ingredient obtained by fermentation of yeast and lactic acid bacteria. In this way, we do not have really already some results to show, but this is the strategy that is going to be developed. In this way, we think that we can better valorize the residues by upgrading with some functionality that is already characterizing the residues, or through fermentation can be even improved. Obviously, the results need to be validated also from a sustainability point of view, and we also need to check the effectiveness of the technology. And that's all.
Some question? Cannot. Thank you, Lucia.
Can I make a question, please?
You have a question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have to use the mic,
think
right?
that you would like to have an intervention.
So part of the sustainability assessment is also the business models and the economical part. Do you have
We do not have right now defined. I don't know if Alessandro has already, because Alessandro?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Iris.
For sure you as you take
No,
care of the economics of your company.
the question
Yes.
is if
It's
you,
for you.
Alessandro, hi again.
Hi, Iris.
No. The question is if you need to create new processes in order to accommodate this new material, let's say, or are you predict a more smooth, let's say, integration of this this new material that comes from the waste? Thanks.
Okay, it depends on the final result. If it's creamy or what we would like to do. At the moment, I have no economics to show. I think that the most of the process we can do ourselves, and we don't need to buy any more machine or something like this. But I'm waiting to understand well the final product to check the market, to do a benchmark, and to understand if I can have the margin to produce the new product.
Just to add a thing about the phase of the microbial fermentation, these, generally speaking, do not require really expensive equipment, and in general can be quite easily integrated in the process that the company Lettere di Zoe already performed in terms of production of the juice. But as Alessandro said, yes, we have to have a clearer idea of the final product, whether it is fluid or creamy or
I guess we are going to be used as a sample and but benchmarking baseline in Pamplona. We are going to taste this as well. Eh?
Let's hope we will be able to bring the sample in Pamplona. It could be a challenge delivering some samples. We will do our best.
We have a question online from Daniel Axe, Bioeconomy Cluster. He asked if you think such biotechnology processes, HBH, could be used for other fruits, apple, pear, cherry, to valorize its residues.
Yes, generally speaking, yes. The main aspects to be considered is the microstructure of the residues. I mean, because in the high pressure homogenization, the pressure it's not a static treatment in which pressure is applied in a static way. There is a flow and a pump, so it has to be pre-texturized, or it must have a proper chemical-physical structure, let's say.
But the utilization is in which sector to produce so what?
The high pressure homogenization. Sorry,
Oh no,
I didn't catch.
the final products of
the final product. The idea is to have it used as a food ingredient, if possible, in the fruit sector, maybe to enrich with some functionality, antioxidant activity, prebiotic activity. One of the product, the beverage already produced by Lettere di Zoe, or try to develop a new product. I mean, a new recipe.
Exactly. Our target is organic shops, and so we are trying to find another products that I can sell to my partner. So, or we have a product, or we have a new functionality that we can communicate to our channel. That's the target that we had discussed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other question? So I want to thank Lucia for the speech, and then I give the floor to Harris Mauritiadis on digital IoT and business innovation to optimize the use of resources at the crop production stage. Please.
Thank you. So hello everyone. I'm Haris Moisiadis. I represent Future Intelligence, a Greek small and medium enterprise, and we are working with digital tools. We are an ICT company, and we are involved in two pilots within COFRE's project. One is Lettere di Zoe and Alessandro. Actually, we just came back from Calabria on Wednesday. And we are also in Floret, in Navarra, in Spain, close to Pamplona. That we didn't have the chance to go to Pamplona last February, that we visit Floret, but we will in September, according to the plan at least. So
Wait to share it online.
okay. Up. Good. So what we are doing, we are building hardware and software for the Internet of Things. We don't make the sensor or the actuation part ourselves, but we make the controlling, the hardware that needs to get the data from the sensor or to give the command to be performed on the field. And we are focusing on Agri-Food, of course, and in other areas like infrastructure, utilities, and more. I will spend 5 minutes, I hope, to describe a bit the context of the company. So we were founded in 2009 in Athens, Greece. And now we are in 3 countries, UK and Cyprus, and we have also 2 branches in Greece as well, Northwest, Ioannina, and in the island of Crete. We are approximately 20 people, and working from all these areas that I mentioned before. And the expertise, the core expertise that we have is IoT, is Internet of Things. And of course, we touch all the relevant domains like artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and edge computing, and cybersecurity, along with the software part that once was called data middleware, later data lakes, now is going to the data space thing. We have some projects there as well. And we do hardware and software, and we are very keen on R&D. Also touching some other more niche paths like consulting in the aviation domain, let's say. So when a new renewable energy source park needs to be deployed somewhere close to aeronautical systems, we perform this analysis in order to see how these wind turbines or other mechanical systems affect radars that are used by naval and the air industry. These are some partners and customers that we have. We managed to have overseas deployment mainly due to research projects that we are part of. So we have some commercial deployments in Cyprus, but all the other domains are still operational within after the end of R&D projects. So this is we consider it as a success for us. And the core value proposition is a generic platform, a generic IoT solution, a software, let's say, that manages to visualize every object that we have on the field and get this digital twin on a web dashboard. I'm not spending too much, and I hope I won't tire you with details. I must say that the software that we're using is based on open source technology. It's called Fireware, And in fact, we also try to expand the use of eyewear nationally through Hellenic Eyewear Eye Hub, a digital innovation hub that we built for this reason. And we have some value propositions to offer to the market, as we are an SME, and we have to bring to the market real products. So one of them is Kuhoma, the smart farming solution that we are going to enhance within CoFresh. That is also composed of hardware, weather stations, and custom stations like the one that we deploy in Spain, in Floret, and in Lettere de Zoe as well in Italy. In Italy, I'm going to talk a bit more about the irrigation controller that we deployed over there in order to automate the irrigation applications. And another thing that we are doing pretty successfully is working on the production line and taking data from SCADA systems and PLC. We load these onto our own hardware, like industrial IoT edge gateway, and from there we can have various dashboards and web interfaces, so all the different system providers can easily monitor remotely their systems. Now, as I said, we're very active in R&D projects, mainly because we want to create reference, so scale the technology that we have already built. A second pillar is to do some incremental innovation based on the basic features that we have. So add a couple of new features that covers best the market needs that we have identified or the end user wants to experiment with. And of course, working with totally new technologies like AI or metaverse, etc. This is an almost updated list of projects that are still on in the following research domains. And also we are part of two digital innovation hubs. One is for Fireware that I briefly mentioned before, and the other one is AHEAD, Attica's Hub for the Economy of Data and Devices, which is also part of one of the European Digital Innovation Hubs scheme, EDIS, that is funded by the European Commission. We co-founded AHEAD along with Demokritos Research Center, which is the biggest research center in Greece in terms of employees and of revenues, of grants that it gets. And regarding data space that I briefly mentioned before, we just finished a successful experiment working with Fireware and ICER, working with linked data and try to effectively and securely share data from farmers to other stakeholders of the community in order to get back targeted advices or other features. Also, we are part of national clusters and competence centers like Agile for Cluster and RIC. The first one has to do with Industry 4, with manufacturing, and the other one research how climate change can affect physical phenomena, and the target there is to provide early warning systems for flood events and fires. And we go into R&D projects mainly because we can play with hardware. So this is the entry point for us. And then on the software part, we can analyze this data and we can see if we have been offering a real value to the pilot or not, or we need to change something. And finally, through the DIH, we are very keen on reaching non-digitized companies and organizations and try to upskill them by using some kind of technology, including ours, of course. And now I'm going to the CoFresh innovation experiments that we are involved in. And this is at least the second time that you see this picture, maybe more. This is from Alessandro terrain in Calabria, southern Italy. And there we are working on a smart irrigation experiment. So we need to, Alessandro has identified from the beginning of the project that we need to improve how the application of water is done in clementines. And we are hoping that we can achieve this by using sensors, automation, and Internet of Things technologies. Of course, we need to design a very concrete and coherent methodology in order to have a scientifically sound way of measuring. And as I said, we want to reduce the amount of water used for irrigation. We want to make it simpler in terms of labor actions that needs to be taken and labor time that needs to be saved. Of course, because there's a pump there and activates the irrigation, we want to use it less. So you have some side benefits on the electricity side. Of course, under keeping the same amount of yield and the same or maybe better quality of it. Now, as the main technology, the main tools that we are using are sensors and the software and the irrigation controller that we have deployed this week. And our initial target is to experiment with reducing irrigation applications by 10%. So since Tuesday, we are already getting some data from the field that help us create a model of how much water should be applied in specific seasons in the specific location. We had some background knowledge on this kind of technology, but we are now hoping to bring it to market. And another thing that we discussed with Alessandro the previous days is that we want to end this innovation in September. That is supposed to end, but we are planning to continue using and continue assessing what the results are. So probably it will go up to April 24. So have delivered a very specific roadmap on what we are doing and when. We are on our halfway, more or less. Some tasks have been completed, while some other are still ongoing. The former one are these that we needed to define what exactly the number of hardware that we are going to use, the terrain that we are going to test. Also, think about what changes to the current the situation to the hydraulic part, for example, needs to be taken in Terra di Zoe. And as I said, we were there on the beginning of this week. So we start the deployment of the irrigation system. So all the basic hardware and software stuff have been deployed successfully. And we had some time to guide our end user to Kuhoma software and what he can do when for using the irrigation controller and all the other functionalities. Yeah, more or less, this is about Lettere di Zoe. As I said, we just began, and very soon I think we're going to get some first results. Although the main irrigation time, let's say, is June and later on. And I'm moving to the next experiment that we are involved in. This is Floret in Navarra, Spain, where we will also use sensors in order to alter the way the fertilization management occurs. So, of course, the methodology and the design of experiment is also very, very important in such an experiment, working with the end user and the agronomists and with some agronomists of ours in order to understand how these innovative sensors could lead to a more dynamic, let's say, way of fertilizing. And there we need to assess the credibility of some innovative sensors that are in the market, very recently are in the market. So it's not clear if these things can be used successfully in commercial terms, for how long, if maintenance is needed, etc. The plan is to change the fertilization management towards a more dynamic way of controlling the system. And of course, it would be our target is to reduce the amount of fertilizers needed for the production of green and red lettuce. So the sensors that we are using is NPK, an IoT online NPK sensor, and a soil pH sensor. And these are the most risky, let's say, hardware that we need to test. And then there are more conventional measurements that also help us understand the fertilization needs of the soil and of the plant. These are soil sensors, so that measures electrical conductivity, temperature, and moisture. We are going to use again the Finot platform and some of the components that we have already made, so we don't start from scratch. But again, we want to be very close to a commercial offering, let's say, so TRL 8 or 9. Again, the plan is quite similar. We are again on our halfway. We visit the field early February. We had a fruitful meeting with CNTA and Floret at their premises. As I said, because it's a pretty complicated thing to control, and because there is a seasonality of crops cultivation, the design of the experiment methodology was a bit tricky, but I think we are in a good way with the result, with the assumption, with the approach that we concluded. So we now have a very complete experiment methodology to follow. That involves also some actions from the end user and from CNTA and from us. Obviously, these are some pictures from the visit that we did, and this is some test of the equipment that Diego and Floret was doing the last week. So probably next week everything will be deployed at the field, and we start taking measurements and then propose some different actions to our end user in order to see at the end of the day, at the end of September actually, what nutrients were applied to the field, and if we managed to reduce fertilization. That's all from my side. And please let me know if you have any questions.
Any question? Yeah, I have any question. The question is related to the connection, because the IoT hardware in the future will expand incredibly, probably, in order to collect data in all parts of the land, of course. And then the connection probably will be the critical part of the system. And then I want to know if which kind of connection in isolated area, then of course it's impossible to install a Wi-Fi system. We will use the GSM network, LoRaWAN network, satellite network, and the risk related to the connection utilized.
In most of the cases, we are using two communication protocols. One is NB-IoT, which is a specific protocol for IoT devices. It's like LoRa, but it's licensed. So you have to buy a SIM, pay the telco provider.
The cost is very high.
But no, not really. The cost, at least in Greece, for 1 year, of course, depending on the refresh rate of the device, so how frequent it sends data,
Yes,
etc.
the quantity of data.
Yeah, so the cost more or less is close to 35 euros for a year for this SIM card. In contrary to, at least I'm talking again about Greece, to 3G or 4G data plans, which are priced approximately 80 euros in Greece. But again, you have to see. So this is one protocol, and the other one is GSM, but GSM up to the gateway part. So imagine the gateway like a router at your home, and from the gateway and to the field, you can have hundreds of sensors, let's say, or actuators, etc., working on a mesh network. So every device talks to the other, and they create a mesh network. This is how it's called. Of course, you have to see coverage, first of all. And then you have to think about the number of devices that you're going to deploy, the level of automation that you want to have, how real time needs to be.
Yes.
And then do the maths and decide if you go with NB-IoT, for example, or with a hybrid network like a GSM on the northern part, and an unlicensed network like 6LoWPAN that we are using on the south part, close to the field. Also, there are nice opportunities with satellite. This is something that we are exploring. I know that there are some really innovative companies, not very many in the world, that are proposing something like this, and we're in discussions. I don't know yet. I don't have a cost indicator, but these kind of things. I mean, satellite connection and IoT will be. It is necessary to have for offshore. Like in sea, in the middle of the ocean, for example, for logistics, or even for offshore wind parks, or even in mountains where no 3G or 4G or 5G connectivity exists.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
We have another question in the chat by our friend Daniel Ax from Bioeconomy Cluster. He's asking, do you think that carbon and organic matter would be able to measure and evaluate through IoT to prove or improve healthy soil? We are building a soil living lab within Soil Mission, and such science-based and data-based technologies are crucial to have real solutions.
Yeah, there are some measurements that might make sense for you to measure by sensors. I don't have yet the full picture. It's hard for me to give you a direct answer right now, but let's talk offline to see what are the parameters that you specifically, what are the parameters that you need to measure, so we can see if there are similar instruments, online instruments to take that measurements.
Okay, Todor. Please. No. Okay.
Other than the costs for the data plan, let's say, or sharing, what I mean is, what costs do we envisage for the people who want to implement this technology?
I must say that it's not something. It's affordable. Let's say it depends on the size of the deployment that you want to do. First of all, you have to cultivate a high value crop. So not arable, for example, something like fruit, vegetables, something that can be sold expensively, let's say, on the shelf. Then, from the experience that we have in Greece, which it's not the highest income country in Europe, the cost per deployment per farmer can be close to 2,000, 3,000 euros, which is not prohibitive. Of course, this can change according to the needs that you have, but you can have you can start seeing some good results starting from this amount of money. Also, I must say that the people that buy these things are small and medium farmers, but the ROI is not the first question that they make. So they need to control, the conditions in the farm for different reasons. They don't see it as, investment that I need to take my money back in a couple of years or something like that. So price is not itself the only criteria, let's say, for these guys. And it's more interesting if you think about traceability potential, if you think about this kind of stuff and how you transmit sustainability relevant information to consumers and how you can connect the farmer with the consumer and things like that.
Any other question? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Aris, for this projector in the future for the farmer. And then at the moment the speech finish, and then I give the floor to Todor for the closing remark.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, it's always challenging to do the concluding remarks, but I think when presentations were inspiring, clear, it's not such a hard job. I have to congratulate the speakers for not only these very insightful presentations. I think all of us are going to walk away today more inspired, not only, but more knowledgeable and more hopeful that good things are on the way. But I have to congratulate the speakers for the ability to convey very complex matters in a very understandable and simple manner. So from what I gathered is that we were presented obviously four case studies, and I will try to briefly summarize or with several points each one of them. So first, we were taken in the area of digitalization and technology. One of the conclusions of today is that we cannot have higher sustainability without higher digitalization. Digitalization is here, we're embracing it, and it offers quite a lot of solutions. We heard about in the LPS case study, we heard that at a very grassroots level, we have a multi-stakeholder dialogue, collaboration between butchers, breeders, manufacturers, the slaughterhouse, even the consumer perspective is taken on board. And we look forward to seeing how you manage to extrapolate this very grassroots and micro example to something bigger. Of course, SMEs, no, when we speak about sustainability, here in Brussels, it is clear without SMEs on board and without the consumers on board, it's impossible. You need the final consumer to validate the need, but you need the SMEs simply because 99% of the economy of the European Union is SMEs. So when we talk about digitalization, that's why some of my questions were, what about property rights or training of the people who are going to use it, the cost of use? But it is definitely useful, and we look forward to seeing the results of the further results and further development of the first case study. Then we were taken to the area, the world of meat alternatives and fava beans. We learned a lot. I have to say, protein alternatives is not only becoming more trendy, there is an objective need for it. And it is good to see that you're on your way of developing cost-effective alternatives, cost-effective solutions. We look forward to seeing the further results that you have to do the analysis with fermented content. Of course, see the full picture of the added value, we need not only the nutritional aspect, the nutritional comparison, but also the environmental aspect. Because my secret hope as a consumer, all of us are consumers. All of us do shopping. All of us read labels. All of us think about, okay, how can we reduce our the carbon footprint of our shopping basket? My secret hope is, I know I'm one of those consumers that takes it to extreme, but my secret hope is that even if fava beans in the end have a less nutritional value than soybeans, with maximum transparency, the consumer will be able to make the judgment that so long as the environmental and social benefits of fava beans are much higher than using soybeans for tempeh, which, by the way, I did not know existed until today. So I'm really happy that I learned some new things. My hope is that the final consumer will be able to get the full picture, nutritional and environmental benefits, and hopefully make an informed choice. So we definitely look forward to seeing the further results of your analysis. The third case study is something very pertinent because it talks about reducing food waste, food loss at production level. For me, it was mind blowing to see that 60 to 65% of the clementine pulp is residue. And not properly valorized. So it is very inspiring to see that you are on your way to explore how to recover the valuable compounds, antioxidants, antimicrobial fibers, anti-inflammatory food additives. And you mentioned something very, very important, that extraction is very expensive for SMEs. So we hope that one of the results of your work will be how SMEs can use this and at a more cost benefit or at least less expensive manner. Food loss and food waste is very prevention is very pertinent at the moment. The EU institutions or the EU Commission has published some draft proposals to minimize food waste, not food loss. So I don't know where the clementine example is categorized, either the food waste or the food loss, but nevertheless, the data shows that 20% of the food loss happens at production, around 15% happens at uh, production level for specifically beverages. So we hope that your work will inspire some very positive results and we can give one further component towards the sustainability of the food system. Last but not least, Theo Haris, took us to the world of really deep digital and analytical area, something that I'm not competent at all. But we heard about research and development, R&D technology, open source, which I love. I think that's a very key word, that the software is developed as open source. Of course, it has to meet market needs. And the two case studies of the objectives of the two case studies that you presented: reduce amount of water, optimize labor process, less electricity to maintain the yield or even improve the quality. I mean, this is very inspiring. If you manage to do that, I think it's going to be really a game changer. And some final remarks. Again, we have to emphasize the EU sustainability, but also the global sustainability agenda. But since we're in the European Union and this is an EU-funded project, the farm to fork strategy and the framework law for sustainable food systems, which is upcoming, and any green transition ambition, again, cannot be achieved without the consumer to validate the need and the bringing on board the SMEs. So we hope that the work of this project is going to support the higher contribution of SMEs to sustainable food systems and connecting something that Harry said in the end, connecting, because through traceability, the farmer with the consumer. And so that with multi-stakeholder cooperation and dialogue, with digitalization, with solutions, with innovation, we will be on our way to achieving sustainable food systems. I thank you very much once again for your participation, your inspiring case studies, your concise and clear manner of delivering this very complex information. And we definitely have a lot of work more to do, and we look forward to seeing each other again and finding out the results of your very, very inspiring work. Some housekeeping items. I was told that after this, we will be sending you a feedback form, which will feed into the final reporting of the project. I would like to thank the people online that have connected for the patience. Thank you for the ones in the room that made the trip to Brussels. It's easy for the ones like us that work in Brussels. We don't need to take the trip anywhere except the metro. And one key question maybe for the audience and everyone, what about will there be a specific report of today's session?
Yeah, it will be part of what is shared also. Yeah, we are going to share the presentations online on the CoFresh website, and so there will be also reporting from the event. Yes.
Well, is it up to me to close officially or please go ahead? Thank you.
One thing. See you in Pamplona, 28, 29 of September. Thank you a lot.